just digging a little bit further on the apps. You know, I'm in my late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the old school dating websites. You know, your original OK Cupids. I remember Match.com of back in the day. I remember um, even like Yahoo Personals. I have some
Wow, I
friends of
forgot about those.
yeah, from some friends from college actually got together and married off of Yahoo Personals. That's why it comes to mind.
I have a former coworker who did the same thing. Hmm.
And those were like they required the things that you or encouraged at minimum the things that you're asking for, a full filled out profile. And from my experiences in those worlds, you you know people put time and effort in like you actually had a sense of the people that you were interacting, or at least what they were their representative, as a friend of mine calls them, of who they are trying to project online. And then you have this current crop, whether it is Hinge or Bumble, um, the new version of OkCupids and such, that are all swipe based. And I find, I haven't been on in about a year, but they were more simplified. There were that there's less detail, there's less trying, there's simply photos and generally nothing else. How do you Which one's more effective? I would assume you'd say the longer profiles.
So I'm trying to think how to answer this. So let's first take a step back with online dating. A lot of these apps are now created to not get you off of them. You can send pictures. You can do calls. You can do FaceTime calls. You can share profiles. If I'm on Bumble and I see this great guy, I can forward it to my girlfriend who's on Bumble and say, hey, this is somebody that I think might be a good fit for you. It's designed now to not get you off. What a lot of people don't know is Match Group. They own Match.com. They own Hinge. They own a lot. OkCupid. They own a lot of that. They have a big, huge share. The first quarter of this year is the first time ever that they had a quarter loss. So we're seeing people getting off at websites, but now you're seeing people date. And like Hinge too, you can go through and you can like 5 profiles in one day. After that, you have to pay. So it's getting you to pay, or it's getting you to come back the next day to be looking. Yes, and it was designed, Hinge is designed, it's very simple. And I think that's why a lot of people use that one. And depending upon the city that you're at, it might be a good location for you. But again, it's designed to not get you off those. So a lot of people will sit there and still have those conversations and have those things. So you have to have a good opening one line to be able to talk. Yes, I've seen my son, him just swipe, go through. And, I see how that happens to a lot of people on Bumble, because men know that the women have to reach out first. So they're just swiping. And then when somebody comes through, then they actually go and take a look at the profile and then find out if they're a match or not. But that's why you have to fill out that profile too, because you want to make a good first impression, and then you're having that conversation. So you want to even balance of, hey, how are you, to drilling down everything on their account and going through and oh, you like to swim. Oh, you like to surf. Oh, you went to school here. So you have to, it's a very fine line to not be, creepy, but you want to be exciting and you want to have those conversations. And that's where you lose. So I sit down and have people, I have a client that we're going to sit down and help her create her profile and go through those questions and ask. But again, you want a well filled out profile and good pictures, and that's something that looks like you. And then that way it's drawing attention. We're just making you, shiny to make you stand out a little bit more. And then we'll go through and help you have those communications.
Are the people who are coming to you suffering from app fatigue?
Yes, that's definitely one big thing. I would see app fatigue, don't know where to start, not seeing people that are serious. But dating app fatigue is definitely a thing. I
They
do it
don't
for
see
myself.
people
When I start dating again, I'm like on here and I was like, this is, here we go. The problem is too, is it takes a while for the algorithm, for the app to figure out your algorithm and what you like. And then now with Bumble, you can't filter through ethnicity. It doesn't allow you to do that anymore.
I get the point, but it also seems counterproductive. Well, at least for the dater, for the company, obviously, like you were describing, like they want you on the app as long as possible so they can serve you ads, and they want your subscriptions. But for a dater, like we all have our preferences.
Mm-hmm.
We should be able to structure our dating adventure any way we like.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, you nailed it. As on the platform, as like if I'm the business owner of an app, yeah, that makes sense because I want people swiping. I want them to renew all of this. But if I'm a person of color or Latino, and all I'm seeing is white people, and I don't want to date that, I'm not going to be on that app. You should be able to filter through, religion, ethnicity, all of that. And if it doesn't allow, what's the point? How am I going to find my person? Because if religion's a very big, important part, I want to raise my kids a certain way. And it doesn't allow me
Is that
to.
why these apps, or at least in part, why these apps are becoming more niche? Like I know there's like, wasn't there I remember farmersonly.com.
Yeah,
I
you have that.
remember
You have JDate. You have there's dating apps for people who have STDs. There's dating apps for religion. There's dating apps for certain cultures. Absolutely, you have dating apps for LGBTQ members.
I have very mixed feelings about that because part of me thinks, as I said, we should be able to choose our own adventure. Part of me also thinks that, like, well, as I think through this theory, right? So on one level, we're going to limit ourselves anyway. So I guess it's just offering a way to codify it in a digital sense.
I mean, here's the thing: if I'm transgender, if I'm a member of the LGBTQ community, I'm not going to go on a dating app that's primarily straight people. It doesn't make sense. If I'm a person of color and I want to date a person of color, I'm going to choose that. If I'm Jewish, I'm going to choose an app that's for Jewish people because I want to raise my children. I want to, my religion is very important to me. So I'm going to go where the people that I want to date are. Yes, I understand that it's about, being open and all these things. But when there's certain with you want to, if it comes to cultural, if it comes to religion, I think you should choose dating apps that go on that. That's where you're going to find your people.
Well, let's pivot to another way people find people. And, at least part of your business, as you said, is coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been single for about a year. When I was looking, I was getting back into bars, and COVID kind of made things further weird. But even prior to that, I felt, at least maybe it's my age, but there's a bunch of factors. It feels like it's harder to meet someone at a bar or in a public place this day. It feels like we're too married to our phones. And it feels like women in particular feel more guarded. Um, and I've had this conversation when I was on dating apps, where it's like they were more apt to go and meet some random person on an app than for me to go offer to buy them a drink at the bar down the street.
So
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things. I work remotely. I work from home. I work out at home. I don't, I'm could be in my house all day. There's days that, I might not ever leave. So what I like to tell my clients is like, okay, what are you doing? Like, what are your activities? What do you enjoy doing? So there might be some females that are like, oh, I work out at an all women's gym, or I belong to a club, that's something that's, like-minded women get together. And I was like, all right, well, if you're doing these things with all women, you're not going to meet anybody. Sometimes too, to go, and I don't want to forget about this point, so I'm going to kind of go back to it. But like, when you meet a woman at a bar and you want to buy her a drink, we're going to sit and talk to you for a little bit. We're going to thank you for that drink, all that. A lot of times, like I myself, I'm just out with my girls. I haven't been out in a while. I'm out with my friends. I just want to hang out with my friends. That's it. I'm not out here trying to pick anybody up. I'm not trying to do that. Some men feel, and it's a very fine line of, I've bought you a drink and I want to get to know you. Yes, let's have a conversation. Yes, maybe let's dance. But I'm here with my friends and I want to spend time with my friends. Thank you again. We'll meet up a little bit later, or I'll, come back over and kind of check in type of thing, because there will be people that will sit there and talk your ear off at the bar, and we want to go dance. We want to hang out with our friends. So it's a very fine line of that. So as a man, be careful with how you do that. But I like to tell my clients, like, let's sit down. What do you enjoy doing? Let's talk about your commute to work. Are you on the train? Are you constantly watching Netflix? Are you have your head in a book? What's going on? Stop. Say hi to people. I have a gentleman who's, a very big introvert. And sometimes it's just say hi. Say hi to somebody new every single day. So you start to get a little bit more familiar with that. You get more comfortable with it. It's just kind of getting you out of your comfort zone. Sometimes we're putting together a 21-day action plan. What do you feel comfortable with? Do you have a crush on the barista at Starbucks? How are you gonna, how do you engage in conversation? So I want to sit back. Let's take a look. What's your daily activities? How can you meet people? Okay, you belong to an all-female book club. Maybe you go through and everybody invites one man, and it's an opportunity for you to share things, because we like people who like us. So if you're going to a game every Sunday, you have season tickets somewhere, be on the lookout. It's your sports team, somebody else. There's going to be somebody of the opposite sex or the same sex that enjoys going to games as well, enjoys the same team. Wouldn't that just be cool to be able to go to a game every Sunday with someone that enjoys the same team and cheers along with you? So you kind of look around, see what's going on. Ask your friends. Don't just have, when you're having a conversation with friends, or, friends of friends, hang out with married people. Married people know so many single people. Pickleball is a new thing. Golfing, go to a cigar club, go, take classes. There's always, different things that you can do. I mean, if you're working out, and I get it. Some women prefer to work out in, the all women section. Kind of venture out, go to the other part of the gym or something like that. Slowly get comfortable, meet people. Sometimes if you just say hello and say hi and become a little bit more approachable and get yourself comfortable with talking to strangers, take a different route, different walk to work. If you're getting off the train or sit in a different car, we become creatures of habits. And sometimes just that, changing something and building your confidence a little bit more.
And I think one of those habits, in part because I, like you, work from home. I've been working from home basically since
before the pandemic. Yeah.
And even before the pandemic, I was sort of phasing into this. It feels like our lives are smaller. There's less of those chance opportunities, like you said. Like we're if more and more of the population is not in public as much, if there's not as many as I call them, third places, not work, not home. If work and home are the same place, and there's less of those places where people go and mingle, it seems like there's simply less opportunity for the person-to-person relationship to be born.
Mm-hmm. So what are you gonna do?
Exactly. So I think one option would be obviously contact someone like you.
Correct.
The other option would be grow some guts and get back into the world.
You have to. So you now have created a goal. So here's the thing. I want to be in a relationship. So what steps am I going to take to be in a relationship? Am I going to hire a matchmaker? Am I going to hire a coach to help me, through the way? Am I going to, tell my friends and family? Am I going to create a online dating profile? What am I going to do? How am I going to take that first initial, leap? COVID, I can name you a dozen matchmakers that had the best year they ever had in 2020. My first client
Wow.
I signed during the pandemic, because it really put people, that's a great thing. Love is a pandemic proof industry. It's not going anywhere. Everybody wants some form of love in their life. It's about helping you make that decision to find it and helping you choose the right individual for you.
What are your hardest clients like?
I don't take them.
You just won't take them.
I won't take them. Yep.
What's the
I like
the
people who
cutoff?
are open-minded, who have a good, healthy relationship with matchmaking, who know what they want, who have a key goal. There's some people that just, I've had conversations, they're just looking for a needle in the haystack, and I've said, no, I'm not the person for you. I'll help you find somebody who is.
So they're seeking a dream girl or dream guy that just doesn't exist?
It could exist. It could just be really, really hard. Sometimes we have to get a little creative, and it might just be, before I agree to take them on, I might have to do some research. I might really have to look. I might have to have conversations with other matchmakers. I might not be able to find the person that they're looking for. So sometimes it's about changing their mindset, or maybe it could just be coaching, and like, I'll help you get to that individual or help you figure out a way. But that's the great thing, is that I'm very, it's, when we're having that initial conversation, it's also kind of an interview. I want to make sure, one of the very first questions I ask people are you coachable? Are you excited about this process? Because if you're not, it's not going to work. Because I need you to trust me. I am the subject matter expert.
Who is less likely to trust you, men or women?
It's, men don't think they need matchmakers, because men, women, we outnumber men. Women are graduating college and are more educated and earning more money and things of that nature. And then women on top of it, we, want children, and biologically, we can only have children to a certain age. Men don't feel that they need to work with a matchmaker, but they're still single.
So matchmakers like yourself are overloaded with women?
Yes and no. It's, it's definitely, it's tougher to find some men, but I take men and women clients. Some matchmakers only work with men. Some matchmakers only work with women.
Who's harder to please, men or women?
It's about an even.
Really, even?
I had men client who filled out the survey, and it was amazing. And I said, you literally said nothing wrong about this individual, and you don't want to go out with her again. Why? And he couldn't answer it.
Wow.
And then I've had women that are just, I've had women that could be the height, it could be, the career, it could be all of this. I want women to get out of the mindset too. And I think we're going to see this, as we're seeing with the way the economy is now, with what's happening. Men are no longer going to college. Men are going into, service, blue collar things. They're becoming plumbers, electricians, all of that. But, sometimes people look down on that, and that's not a bad thing. If you're in the service industry, that's not a bad thing. You don't have school debt. You're not coming out with, hundreds of thousands of dollars of school loans. They're creating these businesses on their own. They have that flexibility to be able to travel. They're making $200,000-$300,000 in their own, business. So I like women to get, out of that mindset. There's nothing wrong with that. And look what's happening now. Look what's happening in the tech world, in the banking industry. Like, people are losing their jobs. I, just remodeled a bathroom, and I was on a 6-month waiting list, because the contractors had, they're constantly working. So don't sleep on those. Don't sleep on the blue collar guys.
And what kind of women should men stop sleeping on?
That's a good question. I don't think it's at that point. I don't think it's the women. I think some men, yes, are intimidated that women might make more money than them, that tend to be a little bit more powerful. I just think it's you communicate and use. Don't waste people's times. If you're not interested, have those have those conversations. Thank you, but no thank you. Don't ghost. Just you'll be amazed with what could happen with a good conversation and a good communication, and how things could be avoided.
Stepping back to a moment ago, you mentioned the fella who described his date, said just rapturous, everything positive about his date, but didn't want to go out with her again.
Yep.
Did he go out with her?
Nope. I said, I need you to sleep on this. I went through, listed everything out. I said she was younger, and he found her attractive, great conversation, liked her. She was currently doing her residency somewhere and would be moving back to where he was currently located. Had a great conversation. He's in his upper 30s. And I said, listen, and I had to have the conversation. I said, I need you to think about this for a second. I said, do you want to get married and have children? Correct? Yes. How long do you plan on dating? Maybe a couple of years. How long before you get married? Okay. How many years do you want to be married beforehand? And then you have kids. Like, these are the things that you need to think about. If you really want to sit down and have that, and like these, we had that conversation. And I said, I was like, this isn't Hollywood. It's not going to be, bombs aren't going to go off. It's not going to be fireworks and all of this. Chemistry builds. You have to, for prime example, I dated a guy, we went on a date and I was like, I like him. I want to go out with him again. Second, third, fourth, fifth date. It was like, okay. I wasn't, attracted to him right away. I thought he was cute, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't wait to see him again. And that chemistry was building over time. And then within 9 months, I'm in love with this individual. Like, we're in a happy, healthy relationship. Like, those things are going to build. And as you get to know someone more, that chemistry, how many times have you've seen a feature on someone and you're just kind of like turn your nose up at it. But then as you get to know that individual, like the little gap in their teeth, it's cute. It's what makes them them. So I think people just tend to get out of their own way. They tend to self-sabotage. It's just a matter of, that. But again, that's why I'm here. That's why let's ask these questions. Let's have these conversations to get to better know the person, and to be able to answer, like, is this somebody that I want to choose?
Should people have sex on their first date?
Do your thing. Whatever. Just use protection. If you're two consenting adults, have at it. I don't think it might not go very far, but whatever. I'm not going to yuck someone's.
Why might not it go far?
It might not. I mean, I've never successfully had anything that's happened. You can have sex on the first date. Doesn't mean, the passion, the fireworks and all of that, but some people it works, some people it doesn't. Again, I just say, be smart decisions, be healthy about it.
On the smart decision bit, that kind of connects with something that I wanted to ask you on. I feel as if as a population, we're a little less prepared to date.
100%.
It seems like we're almost more. Some of the conversations I've had with women and with men, there's an idealism, and which kind of fits in that 6 foot tall situation and in the money situation that you mentioned earlier, and even the plumber and service industry thing you mentioned not long ago. I wonder if you've seen this in your work. Are you working through someone's idealism, trying to get around it?
Yeah, I think, and that's what kind of happens when we're dating somebody. We kind of build this individual up, and it's this idea that this is what's going to happen. And that's what gets us caught up in something. And, I see folks do this third or fourth date, what are we doing? Well, you're dating. Go have a good time. Like, we're not, don't build this individual up. And when we do that, and this is also one of the reasons why I say don't date multiple people at the same time, because we've kind of built this idea on there's expectations of what we think is going to happen. And when people don't adhere to that expectation, now we've been wronged, and it's doomed. But when you're dating multiple people, you kind of get to compare the two of them. You're not putting your eggs all in one basket. It's an opportunity for you, like, when you're going shoe shopping, or you're going through and having, this is how I say it for dating. It's kind of like, if, many stores have a return policy of, 30, 60, 90 days. I can buy a dress, and I can come home, and I can try it on a few times, and I can try it on with the jewelry, and I can try it on with the clothes. And then I have an opportunity to return it. So that's kind of how I view dating. I don't like to talk relationship status 90 to 120 days, until I think that person is worthy, that I'm ready to have a relationship with them, because I'm still getting to know them. You're not having date 2 or 3. You're not having conversations about, finances and politics and religion and things of that nature. You don't understand, how are they in conflict? If you had a fight with this individual, do they fight fair? Or are they nasty and name calling, gaslighting? Like, I find people can't really fake who they are after the 60, 90 day mark. You're really finding out who that individual is. Does that make sense?
You do. And you also hit something that was also on my list to ask you about. The last few years of politics in this country have, everything's been inflamed.
Yep.
My girlfriend and I have had this conversation. We have different politics. We've called it sort of inter-religion relationship, essentially. How big of an impediment is it for daters you speak to? Politics.
It's one of the questions I ask. A lot of times it's volunteered, because a lot of times too, what's happening, and we're seeing this now with politically, it's now going into women's rights. Mm-hmm. It's now going into other social activities. We've seen, when you had COVID, and even like the vaccine, when I, in the beginning, I was asking, are you okay going out with someone who's not vaccinated, somebody who is? I was asking questions. Are you comfortable going out into bars and restaurants now? Some people weren't. Some people, I don't want my partner vaccinated. Somebody's like, nope, they have to be vaccinated. So you're having those conversations. You're having those conversations politically. You're seeing women's rights right now, and is up there. Interracial dating. You're having, abortion, pro-life, pro-choice. You're having these conversations, and it's a key part. And it's going to vary too, depending upon different parts of the country.
I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. So that's definitely a big, big conversation that you're having. I'm asking the ones I tend to ask, I always, there's no right or wrong answers. Tell me a little bit more about you. Tell me what you're looking for in a partner. And then I just, casually ask ethnicity, religion, politics, age.
Of
location.
those.
So the great thing is, where I am, in Connecticut, I'm an hour outside New York City. I myself date within New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The metro, New York City area, you can jump on a train, you can go wherever.
Yeah.
So, you can date. So some people are, and that's the great thing too now, post pandemic, or we're still, I guess, kind of technically in it, kind of technically out of it. But so many people work from home. So you have that opportunity now that you can travel wherever you want. So I have this opportunity. I might, work in New York, but as long as I have internet, I can go anywhere. So people are open now to dating throughout the world, throughout the country.
Of those issues of those requirements, religion, politics, location, which is the biggest impediment, the biggest requirement?
It's not. It's usually family oriented, career, finances. It's back to those key values. Politics sometimes, kind of comes into play with it. But now it's, listen, I won't date somebody who supports this side, or I won't date somebody who supports that. Or I'm open to dating people of other political affiliations, but I want to be able to have, respectful conversations with it. I want to be able to have those, those talks and being able to share and all of that and being able to respectfully have those conversations. When people come to matchmakers, they are just, they want to find their person. And the people that I work with, I want somebody who's open, who's, willing to do things, and they're coachable. They're willing to, to take advice. They're willing to think outside the box a little bit. And when I call somebody up and I'm like, hey, I have this great guy and I'm going to go through everything. This is what you're looking for. These are the conversations. You're very, you like to communicate. You ask great questions. You have conversations. This person's going to talk. You're going to be able, you guys are going to close the bar down. You're going to close the restaurant down. You can have great conversations.
So it seems like you're looking for dexterity.
Yeah, I'm mirroring what my goal as a matchmaker is to bring you opportunities, to bring you introductions. What I'm doing is I'm weeding out the people who don't want to be in relationships. I'm having these conversations with individuals and saying, okay, do you want marriage and kids? Do you want this? I'm having those conversations and doing the background checks and doing these things and saying, okay, now, John, I'm going to introduce you to, 3 or 4 individuals and let's have these conversations. And then I'm getting that feedback and I'm bringing it to you to make you become a better dater. It's just, sometimes we don't have time. It's no different from I'm doing housework or I'm working late tonight and I'm going to order Uber Eats or DoorDash. It's that convenience. I'm making my life a little bit easier.
On another requirement in some elements, we're both massive Buffalo Bills fans.
We are.
How big is sports and obsession with sports? Because I'm a sports obsessive. Does it matter when you talk to daters?
It's funny. I do find that some people say, listen, I'm into sports. I'm into this. I've met many men that don't follow sports, that don't do this. They might be into hunting. They could be into fishing. There could be women that are like, listen, I'm not. When I date, I tell people, like, listen, my phone is off from 1 to 4 whenever the game is on. Like, it is off. That is it. We'll talk afterwards. Like, we're not gonna. But I want to be, but again, to me, like, I enjoy going to sporting events. Like, that is I used to have, tickets to the Yankees. I had season tickets. So, like, I want to go to an event. I want to go to, this is how I have fun. I want somebody who likes sports. I don't have we like people who like the things that we do. So if I want to go on a, Thursday night to a game, I'm going to drive down. I'm going to call you. Hey, you got plans? Let's go. Let's go do this. We like people who like the same things that we do. So it's a part of and we know how the mafia is. We're crazy. It's an essential part of who we are. I've met numerous friends just from social media because, you like the same thing. But again, it's an opportunity. So when you're going to these events, when you're going places, constantly look. I've met men at sporting events. So don't be afraid. I mean, we're doing the same thing. We enjoy that. So that's going to be another part of an activity that we can do together. Remember that couple got married. Remember a couple of years ago, got married 50-yard line.
Yeah.
At stadium. Yeah. I mean, and they met tailgating. Yeah. So like, there's hope, guys. Like, be on there. Be on the lookout. And don't be afraid to date outside of, your favorite sports team.
People are actually afraid of that. That's one I have not heard.
It's just, here's the thing. You make some fun, bets along the way. You can have a good time with it. See, where I live, it's Jets, Giants, New England, like, in the Metro New York City area. So.
Yeah, it's hard to find Bills fans in the Metro New York City area. I'm sure they're there.
When I'm actually going to the that Monday night game, but you'll be amazed on how many people. There's a lot of, and we have Bills backer bars throughout. couple of them in New York. So now that we're, they're good. We're seeing a lot more people. Before, we had a lot of us in our house.
I know we touched on your training now about an hour ago.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to come back around it because I wanted to just get a more of a sense. It's science based. Are there resources for people who want to learn about how you go about this?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely you can, reach out to me via my website and schedule some time to talk. Back to that science-based, I took a science-based coaching course through Dr. Terry Orbuck. She had one of the first federally funded studies here in the United States where she followed over 300 couples for over 30 years. So this
Wow.
isn't like, so this is the data that she's extracted through her through her studies. She's written books. She's fantastic. I've done some one-on-one personal coaching with her. I've done some one-on-one business coaching with her as well. I consider her a friend and a colleague, but I've learned a lot of information from that course. As far as reach out to me. The great thing is about matchmaking is the $4.1 billion industry. It's not going anywhere. Love is not going anywhere. I feel our industry is going to thrive. We're seeing AI coming into play. We're seeing ChatGPT coming into play. We're seeing an increase of fake, the apps. You're seeing fake profiles, things of this nature. Communication. People need help communicating now post-pandemic of not being, out there and about and not having these. We're in our phones. We're in our laptops. I'm going to see a lot of increase in coaching and awareness. So I think it's going to be a very interesting time, and it's going to be good for our industry. But schedule a 15, 20-minute call with me, people. I'm happy to have a conversation. If I'm not the person for you, I'm happy to refer you to one. I have hundreds of matchmakers at my fingertips. My goal is I want everybody happy. Everybody loves to be loved some way. And my goal is to make everybody a better dater and to get people to that finish line.
Corey, you keep reading my mind because I was headed to artificial intelligence next.
I posted articles about it. We're seeing people that are going through using ChatGPT on how to have a conversation, like how do I talk to women? And it goes sexual right away. Or it's, you can take the picture and you can go through. People are putting their AI. Remember that one app that came out that they would take a picture and would kind of make them like that AI photo. Mm-hmm. People are putting that on their profiles now. People are, I belong to different groups for women where they're posting, photos and stuff. And they're like, yeah, that's a guy over in like Europe who's a major like influencer. He's not in New York City, honey. Like that's a fake account. So we're seeing that, AI, you could use AI to help you create a good, intro and all of that as far as, putting your dating app profile together. But I've watched videos, I've read articles on how people are starting to communicate. It's gotten kind of creepy really quick. So you have to
do tell
that. Oh, it was just like there was flirting and it got sexual really early on within like minutes, within a couple of questions.
So with an AI chatbot?
Yep. So they went through an AI and it was a man and a woman and, it was a journalist and he was going through and he's like, okay, well, say this or, answer this. And it got sexual. And the woman on the other end was like, oh, this is awful. So it's just how it escalated so quickly.
My chief concern with it is the overall, much like that fellow from Europe, the overall fakeness. I mean, we see it throughout social media, like all over. And adding that to a dating environment, because I think it was already there. From what I recall, I do recall seeing profiles where I would read them and I'd see the photos and I'm like, this is not a person.
Oh, you can tell right off the bat who. But think about it. You're back in the dating pool for the first time in 15 years. You've never been on a dating app and you see this, good-looking individual and you can tell you can tell when it is, but it's just, if you're new to this, you don't know, you're not going to know. And some people are very trusting.
Mhm.
So you have to be very cautious on it.
And the other element of that I find worrisome is that, much like, we've all been more isolated in the last few years. Add the fact that we're locked into phones and in these digital worlds all the time. There's good things about it. I met
Yeah.
you. We're talking right
Yep.
now through the internet,
Yep.
right? The bad thing is that my worry is that the increase of, especially AI that sounds and acts like human, that we're going to be less ready to interact with people. And
Exactly.
I think that could snowball and be really bad, especially for young people who are not really like
Oh, my son's
they're
generation, they grew up on the computers. They don't know how to have conversations. They don't know how to dial a phone. They don't know how to, if somebody's on the other end of the phone, to be able to, make a doctor's appointment, things of that nature. Like just little things. And that's where like I come in, we have mock dating, on-site dating, all of this that we can sit down, we can role play. I can come with you and be like, all right, let's pick up the body language. Let's pick up the conversation. I can have your female, I have a male coach that can come on a date with you and have a conversation and writes a report up on how it is afterwards. So we're using
wow.
these tools. How to flirt. Like I'm having, I was putting articles together the other day on, how to read body language with people and how to, and mirror it. Some people are great communicators and other people aren't. So it's the kind of like little physical things and watching people and, the mannerisms. So we're having conversations about that. I'm having Zoom calls when I do coaching. It's via Zoom. If I can meet my individual for a dinner or drink or something ahead of time, I'm there. I'm also there too during the photo shoot. I go on site because I want to make sure you're comfortable. I want to make sure we're picking out the outfits. We're, all these little things. So it's not just like, yeah, I'm bringing you introductions, but I want to make sure that you're asking the right questions, that you're not saying this. Somebody on a date one time said, "Oh, I haven't had a second date in 5 years." Don't say that, because now that's going to be a red flag. So I'm walking people through like, okay, let's ask these questions, or what are we saying? Or, I had a date I had a dating debrief, and one person said, "What's your 5-year plan?" And I was like, listen, you're in HR. This is conversation. But then I was able to understand like what that individual had said to lead the other individual to say, okay, what is your 5-year plan? Because what they were saying was kind of like all over the place. Oh, I don't like my career. I don't like this. I don't want to live here. People are looking for stability in dating and relationships. We want to know that you're going to be there. We want to know that you're the person that I'm going to pick, and that you're serious enough to date, that maybe I do want to create a family with you and a life with you, that you're still going to be here, that you're going to be around.
I think that key word serious is it's one. And just thinking through our conversation so far today, it makes me think that perhaps we're just not as serious about it as perhaps other generations were. I wonder what your perspective is on that, and whether you have seen or have any theories on why we're like that.
Well, think about it. Part of the reason why I ask you what's your, family dynamic, or your parents still together. So you've seen relationships, you've seen them go through something. If you have a parent that's absent and you haven't seen that individual, you haven't witnessed as a child of a parent being in a relationship, that's going to be a little bit different as well. So, that's going to be impactful. Or you're growing up and you're just, you've heard a parent say, men are trash, men ain't this, or, women are this. If you hear that, like, that's kind of how, you've been taught, how you've been raised. So I have to get you out of that mindset. So there's certain, things that we're going to have to go through and do. If you've been in relationships, and every single relationship you've been in, and that individual has cheated on you, you're already going to go in with that mindset. You're going to be anxious that this individual is going to cheat on you. So that goes back to that relationship pattern. So why did it end? Why did it break up? Was it just simply like, this individual didn't want children and I did, or this person ended up, cheating, or this person got a job in London and we tried to make it work and do long distance and we couldn't. So that's why we're going back, looking at those relationship patterns, because I need to understand. And that's the thing with coaching. So therapy and coaching, therapy, you're going back into your childhood, you're going really back and you're working through everything. Coaching, you're identifying your goal, problem, whatever it may be. I don't like to say problem, but your goal. So, okay, so what are we going to do moving forward? So how are we going to set you up for success? I'm here shoulder to shoulder with you. I'm your accountability partner. I'm pushing you. I'm making you think a different way. And that's how we move forward. Some people think that they're ready for a relationship and they're not. I've had some people call. I'm like, well, what do you like? I don't know. What do you this? I don't know. Like, it's hard to have a conversation. I'm like, if you can't, you're coming to me for advice and to seek guidance, and you can't tell me, you can't give me your 30-second elevator pitch about you. These are the things that we need to work on. These are the things the conversations that we need to be having. Are you ready? I've talked to people that have, been divorced a year and a half. One of the first, another question I ask, are you ready to date? Why do you think you're ready to date? Why do you want to be in a relationship?
Corey,
you can be on a date not wanting to date and not being serious about dating. How many times have some people just like to talk to somebody of the opposite sex or the same sex? They're pen pals. When are we going to take this offline and meet in person? And that's a major complaint that I have from both genders. So I deal with heterosexual couples, but that is a big complaint that we see, is that people don't want to get off the app. They don't having conversations has been a major complaint. I interviewed 70 women for matchmaking services in probably about a 2-month time span. Common thing was they don't know how to have a conversation, and they want somebody who's kind. And I just felt like that made me kind of sad that was one of the things that they wanted, was a kind individual. But then they were meeting people who just couldn't hold a conversation. And again, that goes back to technology. That goes back to being in COVID. I think we're going to see studies later on coming out of COVID and how it has affected us, our social skills, greatly. The look on your face right now.
It's terrifying.
We can talk about this for hours. Yeah. It's interesting. And you're seeing that effect in how people can't hold conversations. And it's scary and it's tough and it's.
And to your point, not just hold conversations. For me, it's people not wanting to look you in the eye. Fewer and fewer people, and this could be my world, but I'm seeing people who just don't want to. And perhaps it's everything we've gone through the last few years, but it's just like there's still there's a fear in those interactions that I don't recall. And I worry that we may never get it back.
Being in business and, being in sales, I walk into a room and I'm introducing myself. I'm having a handshake. It's a firm handshake. I'm looking you in the eye. Nice to meet you, all of this. And now we've gone through, during COVID, it's a little, elbow, or a fist pump. That's how we're doing that. It's a new norm, and you have to kind of figure out, how you want to be. And people are kind of, getting back to being comfortable about it. But it's going to be unique. And I'm very curious to see studies with AI, with ChatGPT, what's going to happen, all of this, the communication aspect and children and, technology. And it's just, everything I think it's going to make my industry flourish. But only
good for you.
Yeah. I'm trying, because it was, I was having a conversation with a client and we were talking, and it's the flirting, and I'm a good flirt, but I'm like, how do I take this and translate this into like a PowerPoint or to a skill, or to be able to, have those conversations. And like, I have some friends that I'm like, this person's hitting on you. And they're like, wait, what? Huh? I'm like, this guy was checking you out. Like, some people just don't pay attention to that.
I want you back for a part 2 to just talk about flirting.
Oh, so now you need me to take, now I got to take my skills and put them down. Yeah, we can talk about communication and how to go about it. I think that's one of the main things, and so many people lack. And, we can certainly talk about that.
Because I don't, I not only did see that as a dating problem, I see that as a life problem. I think that's, it seems like that everybody's, and yeah, I'd be fascinated to speak more on that with, but for now, any famous last words?
I just like to tell people, you got this. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard. And I'm happy to have conversations, and I welcome, you want to become a matchmaker, you want to, talk about dating relationships. I'm more than happy to have conversations and have them. Please, feel free to reach out. It's matchmakingct.com, and I'll definitely have conversations, but you got this.
Corey Materi, thank you for joining.